Laozi, Tao Te Ching, Chapter 1. Part 1. The moment it is spoken, the Tao is no longer the Tao. Prologue. What words cannot hold. Human beings always ask, what is the right way to live? How should we live? What is right, and what is wrong? For thousands of years, we have asked these questions. And for thousands of years, countless books have tried to answer them. Philosophers created concepts. Religions established rules. Science discovered laws. All of them were searching for the same thing. Something certain. Something unshakable. Something we could rely on. A truth. And yet, there is something strange. The most important things in life are almost always felt before words ever reach them. We know warmth before we learn the word warm. We cry before anyone explains what sadness is. We fall in love even when we cannot explain what love is. Words always arrive one step late. And when they arrive, something has already changed. A feeling becomes a word. A word becomes a concept. A concept becomes a fixed frame. What was flowing begins to harden. In the very first chapter of the Tao Te Ching, Laozi denies the very thing he is about to speak of. The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. This is a strange beginning. Most books begin by declaring their truth. This is the truth. This is how you should live. This is what you must believe. Laozi does the opposite. Before offering any teaching, he questions the act of teaching itself. Why? Perhaps Laozi understood this. The most dangerous teachings are not false teachings, but teachings that appear complete. The moment something is believed to be the truth, it becomes a prison. Once an answer is given, we stop asking. So Laozi begins differently. This is not the beginning of instruction. It is the beginning of doubt. Not a book that gives answers, but a book that returns questions. Not something to hold on to, but something that teaches how to let go. And the first step begins here. Walk slowly. Do not rush. Do not try too hard to understand. Just walk. Laozi is said to have lived in China around the 6th century BCE. His surname was Li, his name He worked as an archivist for the Zhou dynasty. When the world fell into chaos, he left. At a border gate, a guard named Yin Shi asked him to leave something behind. Laozi wrote this text. Then he disappeared. No one knows where he went. Some say he never truly existed. But does that matter? These words are still here. And they still reach us. Chapter 1. The Tao that is named. Laozi's first lines are short, yet deep. The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. When people first read this, they are often confused. What does this mean? Are we not supposed to speak of the Tao? Are we not supposed to name things? Then why does this book exist at all? It sounds like a contradiction. But Laozi is not speaking in paradox. He is pointing to a limit. The limit of language. The limit of concepts. The limit of explanation. Think about what happens the moment we try to explain something. Take love. We say love is caring for another person, wanting their happiness, being willing to sacrifice. None of this is wrong. But is that all love is? A mother's gaze. Silence shared between old friends. The trembling of hands when lovers meet. The ache that remains after someone is gone. All of this is love. Yet the moment we put it into words, something slips away. Words cannot contain experience. They can only point toward it. The Tao is the same. The Tao is the way the world flows. The way all things arise, grow, and fade. Flowers blooming in spring. Leaves falling in autumn. Nothing forced. Nothing manufactured. And yet, the moment we explain it, the Tao becomes something explained. Flow turns into a concept. What was alive becomes fixed. This is what Laozi is pointing to. The moment it is spoken, it is no longer the whole, only a fragment. Think of a river. A river is always moving. The water you see now will not be there a moment later. But once we call it a river, it becomes a thing. Something stable. Something fixed. This is how language works. It stops what is moving. It freezes what is changing. It turns living things into exhibits. Laozi does not say this is wrong. Language is necessary. Names are useful. Without them, we cannot think or communicate. He simply reminds us of this. You can speak of the Tao. But what you speak is only part of it. Names help us understand. But they also confine. We see the world through names. And because of names, we fail to see the whole world. The Tao is not a teaching. It is already flowing. Whether we understand it or not. Whether we speak or remain silent. Laozi only points. Do not cling to the words. Feel the flow. The first line begins this way. Like a warning. And like an invitation. Chapter 2 When naming begins, division begins. Laozi continues. Before names, the world was whole. There was no good or bad. No beautiful or ugly. No right or wrong. Things simply were. Then names appeared. Someone looks at a flower and says, "This is beautiful." In that moment, something else is born. Ugly. Beauty cannot exist alone. This is unavoidable. Language creates boundaries. To name something is to separate it. The word apple exists only because it is not an orange. Every word stands on difference. And with naming, judgment is born. When everyone knows beauty is beauty, ugliness already exists. This sounds strange. Why would knowing beauty create ugliness? Laozi is not denying beauty. He is questioning attachment. We divide the world constantly. This is good, that is bad. This is right, that is wrong. We cling to what we like and reject what we dislike. This is where desire begins. And this is where suffering begins. Because the world does not obey our judgments. What is good becomes bad. What is beautiful fades. What once felt right becomes wrong. Everything changes. But we want things to stay the same. So we suffer. Laozi sees this and steps back. Beauty and ugliness are not enemies. They arise together. Without light, there is no shadow. Without beauty, ugliness has no meaning. Being and non-being give rise to each other. Difficult and easy shape each other. Long and short define each other. High and low depend on each other. This is Laozi's view. The world is not divided into opposing sides. It exists through relationship. Remove one side, and the other collapses. Nature understands this. Spring does not reject autumn. Day does not fight night. Everything is allowed to be. Could we live like that? Seeing both sides. Holding opposites together. Laozi does not say this is easy. He does not say it is guaranteed. He simply points. Division is the root of suffering. And there is a place beyond division. One day. Chapter 3. Non-being, the hidden root. Now Laozi goes deeper. The nameless is the beginning of heaven and earth. The named is the mother of all things. Non-being. Being. Invisible and visible. We usually trust what we can see. What we can measure. What we can prove. But look closely at life. What truly moves us is often invisible. A single sentence can save a life. Not because of the words themselves, but because of what lingers between them. Love is the same. We may not be able to explain it, yet it leaves the deepest mark. Non-being is not emptiness. It is the place before naming. The place where everything begins. Before something is named. It is not nothing. It is possibility. And being is what appears. When a name is given. Form arises. The world becomes manageable. So Laozi says. Non-being and being are not enemies. They give birth to each other. There is silence before sound. Space before form. Stillness before movement. We fear emptiness. So we fill it. With work. With plans. With thoughts. And then we wonder. Why nothing new can enter. Non-being is not weakness. It is readiness. The unseen supports the seen. The empty makes fullness possible. Laozi asks quietly, is there still a place within you? that has not yet been named? Chapter 4. When Desire Falls Silent. Laozi continues. Therefore, without desire, one sees the mystery. With desire, one sees only the surface. This line has been interpreted in many ways. Some read it as a rejection of desire, as if Laozi were saying that desire is wrong, that we must eliminate it in order to see the truth. But Laozi's words are not that simple. He does not call desire evil. He does not command us to destroy it. What he seems to say is this: the same world looks completely different, depending on where we are looking from. What do we see when desire is strong? Imagine a hungry person walking through a forest. What do they see? Do they notice the beauty of the trees? Do they hear the clarity of birdsong? Do they feel the movement of the wind? Probably not. They look for food, for fruit, for water. To them, the forest becomes a place where something useful might be found. This is what desire does. Desire narrows vision. Everything is filtered through one question. Is this useful to me? Is this something I want? Is this something I should avoid? The stronger the desire, the simpler the world becomes. It is reduced to two categories: what I want and what I do not want. This is why Laozi says that with desire we see only the edge, only the boundary, only the surface. But what happens when desire softens? The same person, now fed, walks through the same forest again. Nothing in the forest has changed. But now, they see differently. The tree is no longer a source of food. It is simply a tree. Birdsong is no longer information. It becomes sound. The wind is no longer useful. It is simply wind. The world opens. When desire falls silent, things appear as they are, not in relation to our needs, but in their own presence. This is what Laozi calls mystery. Not something supernatural. Not something complicated. Something subtle. Something that was always there, but usually overlooked. Think of a small stone on the road. When desire is active, we ignore it, or we kick it aside. It has no use. But without desire, we notice it, its shape, its color, the way light rests on it. The stone has not changed. The seeing has. This is Laozi's point. Desire is not wrong. It is part of being alive. We desire food when we are hungry, warmth when we are cold. But if desire is the only way we see only surfaces. Sometimes, by letting desire rest, a deeper world reveals itself. Both ways of seeing matter. We live through desire. We understand through stillness. Laozi does not demand a choice. He simply asks, do you always look at the world in the same way? Is it possible To look without wanting? To see. Without judging. Without using. Without grasping? When that happens, the world opens differently. That may be what Laozi calls mystery. Chapter 5. Two names, one source. Now Laozi returns to the beginning. These two arise from the same source, yet differ in name. Together, they are called mystery. Being and non-being. The named and the unnamed. Seeing with desire. And seeing without it. These are not enemies. They are not opposites locked in conflict. They come from the same place. This is the heart of Chapter 1. We are used to choosing sides. This or that. Right or wrong. Good or bad. We believe we must choose one. And reject the other. Laozi says otherwise. Think of a coin. A coin has two sides. They are different. But can one side exist alone? If one disappears, the coin disappears. Being and non-being are like this. Something can be called existing only because non-existing is possible. And something can be called absent only because presence is imaginable. They give rise to each other. Speech and silence are the same. Words only make sense because silence exists beneath them. Without silence, there would be no speech, only noise. Desire and stillness are the same. Sometimes we move forward with wanting. Sometimes we rest. They alternate. Like waves and retreating tides. They are rhythm. Laozi does not ask us to abandon one for the other. He does not ask us to live without desire, or to remain silent forever. That would be impossible and unnecessary. What he points to is something else. A place where both can be seen together. A place that does not cling to either side. Being and non-being. Speech and silence. Desire and stillness. Held together. Laozi calls this mystery. Mysterious not because it is hidden, but because it cannot be captured by ideas. It is not a concept. It is an experience. Like listening to music. We hear sound. But we also hear silence. Together, they become music. Like looking at a painting. We see ink. But we also see empty space. Together, they create the image. The Tao is the same. It is neither being nor non-being. Yet it includes both. It is spoken and unspoken, visible and invisible. That is why Laozi says, mystery upon mystery, the gateway to all wonder. This is how Chapter 1 ends. Not with an answer, but with a doorway. Not with instruction, but with an invitation. The door is open. It does not pull you in. It does not push you away. It simply waits. Epilogue. What the first chapter leaves behind. Chapter 1 of the Tao Te Ching. does not teach techniques for living. It does not tell us how to succeed. It does not promise happiness. Instead, it asks a single question. What are you holding too tightly? We cling to certainty, to fixed answers, to clear boundaries. And in doing so, we become rigid. We lose flexibility. We lose flow. Laozi sees this. So the first lesson is letting go. Not abandoning life, but loosening our grip on it. The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. This sentence may sound like denial, but it is freedom. It tells us that what we know is not everything. What we hold is not the whole. There is always more. So it is okay to soften. You do not need to understand everything. You do not need to name everything. You do not need to judge everything. Sometimes, letting things flow is enough. That is what this chapter offers. Not certainty, but space. Not answers, but openness. Chapter 1 contains the whole book. The remaining chapters will simply circle this point from different angles. So if you understand it, or even if you only feel it, that is enough. The rest will unfold as you live. Laozi disappears at the end of the chapter. He does not tell us where to go. He leaves the door open and steps away. And we are left here, not alone. The Tao is already here.